So I want to make a video a little bit about where I think the manosphere is going, and guys in the manosphere, particularly popular guys in the manosphere. There's some very, very talented guys out there who are in the manosphere speaking red pill truths, and I've mentioned this before. I've made videos like this before. I just kind of want to make an update and kind of just kind of discuss it a little bit, because there's some things that I don't like, there's some things that I do like, and then I think that there's some things that are potentially damaging and bad for men out there. Now, in a sense, you have to look at it from a macros perspective and say, why are these guys needed, right? Why are guys like Rollo Tomasi, Donovan Sharp, Richard Cooper, etc., and even mgtow, why are these guys needed? And there's some guys out there who I don't even know who they are, that are making great content. There's a guy named Think Before You Sleep. His channel is called Think Before You Sleep. Fantastic. Alexander Grace makes some good stuff. There's stuff out there that is really, really pertinent to the things that we're going through in today's society. That's just fantastic. These guys are saying things that I've been saying for years, and I doubt they're listening to my stuff. I don't get a whole lot of views on my channel, but we're basically going through, we're all sharing the same experiences, right? We're sharing the same experiences. For whatever reason, these guys are more talented, they're more, they have a wider audience for whatever reason. And that is what it is. It's great. I never really made this channel for views. I never really expected to get a whole lot of views. And I'm okay with that. As long as my ideas are being put out there, as long as, I'm sharing my experience, which a lot of other guys are experiencing as well, then it's all good. I'm perfectly fine. I didn't get into this for money. I didn't get into it for fame. So I'm good. I'm good on all that. But with that said, I do think that there is some things that need to be talked about and need to be hopefully potentially corrected. I don't think they will, because the guys that I'm going to talk about really are, too big, and they make too much money doing this to stop what they're doing, and they're using a formula, and I understand it. And it's like, fundamentally, it is something that, the formula in and of itself, it may even be, I wouldn't use the word corrupt, it's just dangerous, right? So again, you have to split up the manosphere. You have to say, okay, well, there's PUA and dating over here. In the middle, there's red pill. Okay, on the other side, there's mgtow, and you could say black pill, or even the white pill, right? They're just not as popular, but they are things, right? mgtow is obviously more popular than the black and white pills. In fact, a lot of people don't even know that the white pill exists. You can look into it. The white pill is pretty good. It's decent. It's better than the black pill, obviously. And there's some things that all of these guys get right across the board. And then there's some things that some of these guys get very wrong. Like, I don't agree with the black pill almost at all. But the black pill takes red pill concepts and it runs with it. So the black pill borrows from the red pill, or it uses these truths that the red pill uses to spin it in the black pill way, in their own black pill way. Okay, but I don't agree with that. The white pill takes the red pill truths and puts on a positive, hopeful, faithful kind of spin on it, which is good. I think that's positive. Guys need to be positive. It's good to have positive. I've met a lot of white pill guys. It's very cool. It's cool to be white pilled, so I'm definitely not knocking white pill. I would say kind of probably want to stay away from black pill. mgtow's good. I think mgtow is like 90% good. I'm not mgtow because I haven't walked away from women, but I applaud, my hats off to mgtow, because they're right on so much. They're right on so many red pill truths. And then you have guys that are kind of in the middle, right? Who are like not fully PUA, not fully black, white, red pill or mgtow, but they're kind of in the middle. They're just red pill guys, and I would say they're red pill / dating kind of guys. So they're right in the middle of those two spheres, or those three spheres, or those two sides, if you will, right? And these guys are like Richard Cooper, Rollo Tomasi, Donovan Sharp, Alexander Grace a little bit, even though he's more blue-pilled or purple-pilled than anything. So and you could make an argument that guys like Donovan Sharp, Tomasi and Cooper are purple-pilled. You could make that argument. They haven't walked away from women. They take the red pill truths and they run very far with it. They get a lot of viewership. They get a lot of patrons and guys who are listening, a lot of followers, a lot of fans, because of the unvarnished truths that they are speaking, which I love that part. I take my hat off, I applaud. However, they mix it in with PUA stuff, and they mix it in with lay count and game and alpha mentality and these things like that, which are kind of damaging in the first place. And this is specifically what I have a problem with, is the fact that they do that, because these concepts are damaging to men in general, right? Guys who think, oh, I got to be an alpha to get a girl, those guys are setting themselves up for a lot of pain, right? Or a lot of hard. And the reason why they're setting themselves up for pain is because it's a lot of hard trying. I'm trying really hard to be alpha. I'm trying really hard to be successful, to be a winner, woo, woo, woo. And they'll mask it, and they'll say things like, well, I'm chasing excellence, right? Or I'm just building myself up for my future, and I'm doing all these things, when in reality, behind the scenes, if you take the mask off, what they're really trying to do is they're trying to level up in order to attract a woman. And that's where I think these guys in the middle can be deceptive, right? At least guys in the PUA camp, at least they're like, yeah, we're all for improvement to get girls. It's like, at least they're straightforward about it, right? And guys in mgtow, they're like, hey, I'm walking away from women. I don't like the system. I don't want any part of it. I've had bad experiences. I'm gone. At least they're honest about it, right? Now, some people could say, oh, well, the mgtow guys, they're really just compensating for the fact they don't get any. They're compensating for the fact they never get laid, and that's why they're walking away from women. You could make that argument, maybe. But a lot of guys I've talked to in mgtow camp, there is that element, but a lot of it is they got burned, whether it was through family court, or whether they got cheated on, or they got dumped, or they got divorced at a bad time, or whatever. This is how you really learn the red pill truths, the deeper essential red pill truths about female nature, is you have these bad experiences. That's how I learned. That's how a lot of guys learned. I'm sure that's how Rollo Tomasi wrote his famous book, The Rational Male, is you have these bad experiences and then you learn from them. Okay. But it's what you choose to do with it. Now, me personally, I'm not really all in on any of it. I'm not all in on any of it. I am for the sovereignty of the man himself. I'm for the happiness of the man himself. And unfortunately, how we're created, how we're made by nature, God, or whatever you want to call it, we do require a partner. We do want a woman. We do want sex, and we do want relationships and companionship and marriage, potentially, right? We do want these things. But you have to understand that if the game is sour, it's just like Donald Trump is probably a bad example, but it's just like Donald Trump going into the White House, going into the government and saying, I'm going to drain the swamp because the whole thing's corrupt, right? It's sort of similar to that, in that if you go into the dating pool or you're improving yourself to raise your status or whatever, you have to understand that bottom line, the dating pool is corrupt. There is a swamp there, and there's all kinds of icky, dangerous things in there that can harm you. And this is why, if anything, I probably would relate mostly with the mgtow guys, because they don't have that hope where, oh, if I level up, if I improve myself, if I become more alpha, then I can get a quality woman, because they realize that, well, it's very difficult to find a quality woman anyways. In general, they're all messed up in their own way. They all have these negative connotations, these negative behaviors to them that we all talk about, all the red pill stuff that we talk about. This is how women are, and this is why a lot of times when I talk about these things, people come out of the woodwork and say, oh, you hate women. And it's like, I don't hate women per se. I dislike a lot of the negative crap that they do. That's my thing, is I dislike a lot of the crap that they put men through. I dislike the fact that they make false rape accusations, the fact that they throw men under the bus in the court and family systems and the divorce court. They're told to lie about domestic violence in order to win a divorce case, and all these negative. I mean, the list goes on and on. They get less, they get less sentencing for the same crimes. She can have sex with a 15-year-old student, and yet and nobody accuses her. I mean, that people do accuse her, but it's like a lot of times men will come to her defense. Where was this teacher when I was in school? And all this. There's double standards, and feminism is a horrible thing. I always talk about feminism. I always talk about how negative feminism is, particularly second and third wave feminism, which really was man hate and removed stigma for loose promiscuity. All these things that I talk about, that's out there. That's in the swamp. So unfortunately, a lot of guys who are leading in the manosphere, and I suppose you could say the market has decided this is what men want. Men want the red pill truths, which great. Take the bad with the good, right? It's very good that you want the red pill truths, but then they also want some kind of hope. And so these guys have to come in and it's marketable. It's marketable to say, oh, if you level up, you can get a higher quality woman. But it's weird when it's done right after they get done saying, well, the swamp is corrupt, the dating pool is corrupt, yet if you be more alpha and you man up, then you can get a higher quality woman. It's like, it's contradictory. It's like, is there really such thing as a high quality woman? Is there really such thing as a woman who's going to love you unconditionally? I mean, if you're leveling up so you can get a nicer car, a nicer house, nicer clothes, you're going to the gym so you can get a better body, like, is she really loving you for who you are, or is she loving you for the best you can be, your improved version, your most apex your most apex version, and that's what she fell in love with. The lifestyle that your money provides, your gym body, your alpha clothes, you learn game, and you can sweet talk her and all this stuff, all these things that guys are clamoring and rushing to improve on. But how many guys are really learning how to make themselves happy? How many guys are really learning how to be content with life, learning how to be more zen, learning how to... I know the mgtow guys are. I know those guys are. And I will give mgtow guys credit. About 7 or 8 years ago, when I first heard about mgtow, 2013-ish, 2012, 2014, around that time, when mgtow really came onto the scene, burst onto the scene, it got popular real quick, and then it died right away because everybody in mgtow, there was a lot of red pill rage and there was anger. If you came in and you said anything like, well, you could potentially find a good woman or something, you would get chased out of any talking board, of any forum, whether it's YouTube or Facebook's, Twitter, whatever, you would get chased out by mgtow guys because they were so angry. But I will give them credit, because if they've walked away, they should be talking about it less, right? They should be talking about women less, and they have. mgtow has been pretty quiet. It's there. You still got mgtow channels, but it's not as loud as it used to be. It used to be more like, kind of radical feminism ish, where radical feminists were like, men, rah against men, and mgtow used to be like feminism in that respect, but it's not. So it's like, if you really walked away, you'd be quiet, and they have been pretty quiet for the last few years, and I'm like, that's pretty cool, because you guys are actually doing what you say you're doing. So I would say mgtow guys are better off in that sense, that at least they're preaching something that's quality. Like, okay, you're walking away, but what are you doing as you walk away? Make yourself happy. Learn how to be content. Learn how to be single. Learn how to... And it's tough, because I don't think we're designed that way. I really don't. I don't think that men or humans in general are designed to be alone in that sense. I don't believe so. I believe we're supposed to have a spouse. I believe we're supposed to have a woman by our side. But again, if the swamp is corrupt, then you shouldn't seek it. If you have a 50% chance of surviving marriage without getting a divorce, you shouldn't do it. It's not that. Those are not good odds. 1 in 2 is not good odds. Particularly when there's a major downside for men, and then there's a big upside and incentive for women to divorce a man, financially and otherwise. It's very, very dangerous. So it sucks, because it really sucks, because I don't believe we were we were made to be this way. I don't believe we were made to be lonely or whatever. But it is what it is. So again, if the swamp is corrupt, you shouldn't encourage people to go sifting through that swamp in order to find, maybe you're going to find a diamond there, but probably not. Probably you're going to find a big fat turd. She might be pretty, she might have nice tits, but she's still going to be a turd in one way or another, and she's going to fuck you up, right? So this is what mgtow guy said. I don't want that mess. I'm out. Screw that. Goodbye. And so it's like, I respect that, but they're not the leading voice in the manosphere, and I suppose you could say the market has chosen. The market has made its point. We want the Donovan Sharps. We want the Rollo Tomasis. We want the Richard Coopers. We want the Kevin Samuels, right? Why? Because these guys are chasing excellence. They're chasing success. They're leveling up. They're being more alpha and all this kind of stuff. And that appeals to men because really men don't know themselves. They don't know that the reason why you're trying to do that is because you have a sex drive. You want to improve so you can get a woman, and you know that the swamp is corrupt because they're talking about the red pills. They're talking about the negative crap that women do. Now, I will say, if a lot of guys take those red pill truths and they start applying them to the women they meet in their life, and they start, dismissing negative women, and they start to, not accepting the gynocentric bullcrap coming from most women today, and they start really putting accountability and requiring women to be responsible and transparent with how they, not only with how they deal with men, but how they deal with their own life. Good things could come from that if men would come together and say, hey, wait a minute, we actually have a say in this market. If we stop accepting the bull crap from women, the women might change. They might. It depends on how solipsistic they are. It depends on how narcissistic and far gone they are. It's very difficult. I believe it's a lot more difficult for a woman to change than it is for a man, because women their whole lives have been told that they're oppressed and they've been given a silver spoon their whole lives socially, and men have not. Men have had to be called on the carpet for everything. We have to be responsible by default because it comes with our worth in society. If there's a lazy man who's not responsible, doesn't work, he's bad character, whatever, he doesn't get a pass. He's called a loser. He doesn't, no woman wants to date him, whatever. But if you flip it and there's a woman who's she's a user, she's got a bad attitude, she's negative, she may even have addictions or whatever, she's shitty, she shits on guys, all the negative crap. However, if she's pretty and she looks good and she's sexy, none of that matters, and that's where there's a double standard. And guys need to stop that. Guys need to stand up for that. Guys need to start putting stigma and barriers on women being able to do that. If guys say, "Hey, no, I'm not dealing with this, bitchy woman, whatever," then leave her to herself. And she, at some point, unless these simps keep catching her, the simps got to change too. Unless these simps keep catching her, at some point she's going to change. At some point she's going to want to, or she's going to say, hey, I can't, this isn't viable for me anymore. I can't be this diva narcissist and still get everything I want. It actually has negative consequences. That would be transparency. That would be accountability. That would be agency. That would be responsibility. These are the things that women need to take, and they're not taking. They're not taking up agency or responsibility for their behavior, which is big part of the problem. Of course, you got feminism, which tells them all these lies and encourages this bullshit, not to be accountable and all these things, and always blame shifting for the men, whatever. But again, at least these guys are speaking these red pill truths. Again, at least these guys are saying something, and the market is responding and is saying, hey, this is the truth. We want this. This is why these guys are becoming more popular. And they're making a ton of money on to hand over fist, I'm sure, through their YouTube contributions, that they get from their followers and fans. So I do have an issue with them telling men to improve so that they can get women, because it doesn't really shine light on what the real problem is. Yes, we all need to improve, but We already know that. You don't tell a man he has to improve. Men are always trying to improve just by our nature, most of us. You don't need to tell a man that, but it sounds good and it's marketable. So what really men need to do is they need to say, hey, this is what you really need to do. You really need to pick better women. Stop validating a woman just because she's sexy. Stop chasing a woman just because she's attractive. Stop giving a woman attention just because she's got nice tits or whatever. That is the root core of the problem. They know they can get away with anything because they're women, right? And this is why chivalry was a big mistake. This is why the concept of chivalry was terrible historically for women. It's like, hey, if you really want to be equal, you got to be accountable for your actions. If you really want to be equal, you can't get special benefits. You can't get these special privileges and also, put all these insane standards on men. Doesn't work like that. Shouldn't work like that. That's bad, right? Who needs to know that? Women, yes, but if men know it and men will not accept that crap, then women will change. It's like a child. If he keeps getting spanked when he does something wrong, eventually, and I'm not advocating violence or anything like that, I'm just using this as an example. I don't even really say parents should spank their kids, but it's just an example. If he keeps getting disciplined or spanked, whatever, yelled at or whatever, when he or she does something wrong, eventually they're going to be like, okay, I get it. I shouldn't do that thing anymore because there's going to be a bad consequence, right? This is what men have to live with. This is how men grow. Oh, if I don't get a job, I'm going to be on the street. If I don't do this, I have to do that. If I don't, it's a consequence, and men have to. Women have the luxury of not. This is why I always tell people to read Esther Villar's book, The Manipulated Man. She makes it very clear in the first few chapters that women do not have to work. Women do not really have to do much in society. They don't have the burden of performance. They can live off of a man, and they can, if they so choose, they have the luxury of choice. Men do not. We cannot live off a woman. They would never allow that. Never. Even stay-at-home dad kind of thing, not popular, not cool, not fun with most women. Doesn't happen. It's because it's in their nature to want the man to provide and perform, which is one of the biggest problems that I've always had with women. And one of the biggest problems that I've always had is that you have to bring something to the table. Chris Rock said it perfectly. Only dogs, children, or pets, children, and women are, loved unconditionally. In order for a man to be loved, he has to bring something to the table. He has to pony up financially, resourcefully. It's what it is, and this is part of the reason why I stepped out of the Matrix. Part of the reason why I got red pilled in the first place was I knew that if I couldn't hack it, if I couldn't make it financially, that I wouldn't get a woman. And that was something that disturbed me deeply, because I realized that that's not real love. So with that said, you have to understand that if you're improving yourself and you are chasing excellence and you're leveling up in order to get that, then you're not really being yourself. You're not really being loved for who you really are. So that's a big problem that I have in the manosphere. It plays into hypergamy, and it could easily get jujitsu'd. It could easily get used against us. Women are master manipulators. They're masters at being subtle, okay, and getting things from men in a subtle way. And that's one of the things. So you got to understand. So it's like, yes, we need the red pill truths, but also we need sovereignty as men. We need sovereignty. And what is sovereignty for a man in a relationship? It's that I'm being appreciated not because I'm providing. I'm being appreciated just for who I am. I'm being appreciated because I matter. I'm being appreciated not because without me, I'm the anchor. Without me, the whole family would fall apart. No, not at all. You have to be loved for who you are as a person, and who you are in your character, and who you are in your heart. They have to have a unique love for you. And if that's not the case, they can easily replace you. This is why divorce is so common. If women come into it from a commercial standpoint, oh, well, I'm getting something from this. It's beneficial for me. It's a transactional standpoint to a relationship. That is negative. And this is going to build up the divorce. The divorce isn't going to stop until we start loving each other for who we really are. And it's not about finances. Whether you live in a freaking tent down by the river, whether you live in a $1 million home, doesn't matter. She needs to be with you when you're in the trenches, when you're suffering, when you got nothing, when you're depressed, when you're going through mood swings like Kanye West. Okay? When you're overweight, when you're not hitting the gym, she needs to be with you in those moments. If she's not, then she's not the one, man. She's not a rider. She's not gonna be with you through thick and thin. That's not real love, man. And I say this again and again. So that's one of the biggest problems. And the other thing is that I really dislike is they mix in these game concepts with red pill. I don't think that we should be on the one hand saying to men, avoid all these type of women, woo woo woo, but also teaching them how to get women. It's like, I mean, they're going to do that anyways, but I just think it's cringy, because that information is out there, and guys are going to do that. I just think it's cringy to mix that in. On the one hand, be like, oh, these are all the negative things about the red pill, or these are all the truths that you have to learn, and these negative things, and then also simultaneously in the same podcast or the same video or whatever, or even just a video later, start talking about, well, this is how you get women, and this is how you. It's like, well, you're setting us up for those very problems you're talking about. Until those problems get themselves fixed, what's the point? Because you're just going to run into those problems. Like, okay, maybe you'll get laid in the meantime. But I've been down that route, and I'm not saying sex isn't good. I'm not saying that the sex wasn't great. It was while it lasted, but there's a lot of negative that comes out from that. Okay, it's like, yeah, you might get some sex, but you're also going to get your heart broken. You're also going to get cheated on. You're also going to get your manhood stepped on. You're also going to get disrespected, and you're going to get your heart dashed against the rocks, and all these things that comes from when you have sexual relationships with women. These are the potential dangers. So I mean, if they're going to talk about that, at least really bang home the consequences. At least say, hey man, do this at your own risk. You got STDs, you got unwanted kids. At least one thing I appreciate about Richard Cooper was he does say occasionally, he says, don't knock a woman up. I think Richard Cooper, I'm pretty sure they all might say that, actually. So I appreciate them saying that. I think I heard Donovan Sharp say that the other day too. So I do appreciate that. But they need to really talk about those consequences more and say, hey, you can game if you want. My channel's not about game. My channel's about speaking these red pill facts and equipping men with these truths so that they can go forward in their lives and be productive and happy how they want to be productive and happy. Maybe it might not be financially. It might not be in the gym. They might not get nicer cars. Maybe they want to paint more. Maybe they want to go travel more. Maybe they want to, build something or figure out this kind of hobby or help people. Like, say those things. Don't just say chase excellence, chase money so that you can get divorced and used. And it's like, on the one hand, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll warn you about divorce, woo woo woo. And then on the other hand, they'll say chase excellence so you can have more money. So when you get divorced, you can lose it all. Like, that doesn't make any sense, man. It's very contradictory. Talk about the consequences. There are consequences to these things. Guys are going to want to do it anyways. We're going to chase the cat. We're going to chase pussy. We're going to try to get sex. It's just what we do. And we're probably going to get it. Or are we going to get, some guys are going to get it more than others. Some guys are going to get better women than others, whatever. And there's going to be consequences. You have to be straight up and real and say, well, this is how we got here in the first place. We got some consequences, whether we were rejected or we were cheated on, or whether she gave us an STD she didn't tell us about, or all these things that women do to us that causes us to come and take the red pill. You have to say these things, because if you don't, then you're going to have this formula. And I get it. The formula sells. I get it. It's like guys want to hear it. They're telling guys what they want to hear on the one hand, and then you're also giving them truth on the other, which is good enough, I suppose. At least guys are getting red pilled. At least the truth is going out. The truth is the truth, right? But if it's mixed with this other stuff, it can be potentially dangerous. All right. So I just want to kind of clarify that, talk a little bit about that. I'm going through some editing on some of my videos. I'm making some of my videos private. Certain videos that I think are not that great or whatever, and I'm kind of going through some changes on my channel a little bit. But still the same thing, still the same formula. I'm just going to try to be a little better in some certain ways. But anyway, it's been Jay Lee. Appreciate you guys listening for Northwest Podcast. Peace.